Welcome to the G3X Podcast, where it's godgymgrind unfiltered. Episode 31 is today's episode. Super excited. Our special guest being D'Angelo. D'Angelo, thank you so much for being here, man. How are you feeling today?
I'm great, man. I'm blessed to be here and be able to share my story and just give the people, more of an insight about who I am.
Love it, love it. I always like to say, hey, your story can change someone else's life. So it's always fun having new guests on the podcast, hearing their story, impacting lives. So definitely for the audience, I met D'Angelo there through Instagram. Actually, we connected there through social media, saw his profile. How was he also into like fitness, into faith? And I was like, hey, this would be awesome to see if he wants to be a guest. Here we are now. So super excited. It's going to be a powerful story for sure. But D'Angelo, let me not steal your thunder. Feel free to introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and we take it from there, man.
Yeah, so, excuse me, my name is D'Angelo Brackeen. I'm originally from Oklahoma City. If you haven't heard, Thunder Up, NBA champs. But anyway, I'm from there. I moved to Texas when I was in about sixth or seventh grade. Um, so from there, and then we've been in that area for a little while. I moved a good bit starting out my life. So from North Texas to Austin, my senior year of high school. And then now we're back up here in the DFW area, and I stay in North Richland Hills, so like Fort Worth area currently. And then for work, I'm within the fitness realm, so I am a sales development representative for the company called ISSA, so International Sports Science Association.
Love it, love it. That's super cool. There you go. If anyone needs any like sales or something in fitness, you're the guy to go to then.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, awesome. No, super cool, man. And let me actually, to get within your story, share your story, like take us to the beginning then ultimately, like where I know when you were filling out that form, you mentioned being involved there, like let's say bodybuilding, powerlifting, your coach, which I know we'll be getting into details and all that. But talk us from the beginning. What was your journey into bodybuilding, into powerlifting? How did that start? And where was like your life, let's say, before fitness entered the picture?
Yeah. So I'll start with how I met my coach and then got into bodybuilding. But so originally I didn't work out at all whenever I got into college till I would say until I got to college. So like my freshman year, I was just a band kid, and senior year of high school, like scrawny, like probably like a buck 10, But at that time, I was being bullied a little bit, and so my main point at that time was I just want to get bigger. I want to do something for me to be able to go into an environment where I can have control. And so that's what I did. So I went to college, Stephen F. Austin State University, and I immediately got into the weight room. And a couple of my friends at that time took me under their wing and taught me everything they knew. And so I just absorbed it all. And then eventually I took off on my own, and I was like, I want to learn everything. It just kind of stuck. You don't really, a lot of people don't really get to say, hey, like this just stuck with me. Like this is something I just love. Like that's just how it was for me with training and fitness and just being able to be in my own world. So from there, um, working out, all throughout college, I always loved bodybuilding, but I was scared to be on stage. Like I,
Oh wow.
I did not want to be on stage.
Stage
I didn't
fright.
want any part of it. But I was insecure within myself, right? That was more of an insecurity within, and then just partially not having that experience as well. Um, and so from there, working out, and then I would just train people for free just because I just genuinely love the sport, right? Um, and then getting out of college, I actually ended up dropping out to pursue fitness. I went for music. So
Wow.
it's kind of like
Wow.
two separate things, But everyone there already thought like, hey, are you a kinesiology major? I'm like, no, like I'm a percussionist. I like to produce. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. So I ended up dropping out for my own decision and pursuing um, powerlifting, wanting to get my certification in personal training, just go through the whole nine and make something out of myself. And I did. And so as far as meeting my coach, originally I just wanted to do powerlifting. I was using an app, just kind of doing my own program. And at some point I was like, I need more, like something like I'm getting strong, but I need a community of people I can be around because I'm very like community based, around loyal people. And so the manager was going to Fitness Connection in Arlington, and the manager there, Kyle Patterson, he introduced me to my coach now, who we've been together for 4 years, going on in actually this month.
Nice.
and he introduced it to him, and it was just off to the races. I mean, he looked at me and he was just like, kind of like, I believe in you before you believe in yourself type of look. And I didn't know it at the time until, we did our first competition. And after that, like, I knew what it was going to take. And so we were just on the same page, here and there, we would get into it, but that's just how it is. Every great coach relationship, you have those moments, as you grow. And so we just continue to grow together. And now two-time world-time powerlifting champion within the Wobble Federation. So it's for bench
Nice.
press and deadlift. And then I'm going for my pro card in bodybuilding this December.
Nice. That's awesome. That's amazing. Wow, wow, wow. There's so many cool things there. What really stood out to me was that fact that like that shift, let's say in career, where again, we like to say here at G3X Fitness, God, gym, grind. And so that grind aspect of like, hey, hustle, entrepreneurship, business. And then, many people I would say would be scared to take a different jump altogether from being involved, let's say music, percussion. My family has a music background. So at one point we're a family of 5. And so at one point, 4 of us were all like, I played the drums, my dad the bass, sister the
Yeah.
guitar, my other sister the piano, singing, so, like a whole band there and everything. So, but it was super cool then that you were willing to do that jump. Like, hey, you know what? Let me go for it. Was there any fear or doubt in that transition? Let's say, like, you know what? I'm gonna like drop out, focus on fitness, make it happen. Because I'm sure we all have certain doubts or people telling you, "Nah, you're crazy." How did you manage that aspect? Because I think that's so aligned with that grind mentality.
Man, yeah, that by itself was a journey because I was like nerve-wracked to tell my mom like I was dropping out. Um, but at the same time, I felt a sense of peace about it because I knew what I wanted, and part of it was I didn't want to like waste her money anymore, with like loans and all these things.
Mm.
Just trying to take that pressure off of her, and so for me, I was like, I'm content with this decision and I'm willing to like make it happen. My relationship at that time with God was not the best, but it was there. So I had enough faith to be like, I know I can do this. And then even then, just working when I got out of college, like I would say that was when I probably had the most doubt. Just wasn't making the most money at that time. I was just fresh out of college. I mean, at that point, I didn't really know which direction it was going to go in, and so I was just kind of just going with the flow for a couple years, and I realized I wasn't all the way in, with competing because I was teeter tottering. And that's one thing, about, people will tell you about bodybuilding is like you either have to be all the way in or like all the way out, because if you're kind of half in, half out, it doesn't really work that way. And so after about year 3, when we started actually like making results and being like, okay, I could be good at this, that's when I jumped like all the way in, and that gave me a boost of confidence for sure.
Nice, nice, nice. I like that because ultimately, like, you do it, you try it, you get some results, and like, hey, you know what? Kind of like use that as a booster to keep going. Because yeah, if you don't know if you don't know, right? You don't know if you never try. You don't know if you never like get out there and like see what happens, right? And
Right.
I love the fact, from a younger perspective too, because like, yeah, you have things to take care of, but at the same time, hey, if it doesn't work out, you still have many more to like figure something else out, and like God guides you to something else, in other words, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man.
That's awesome. No, that's so cool. Now, when it came to therefore now the whole aspect of, let's say, the shows, because I know the bodybuilding, I think that's like super cool. What was when you the first like time prepping or this and that? How was that whole experience too on that? Talk to me about that.
It's funny because it's I guess one of my favorite stories now. Like when I tell people that are first getting into bodybuilding, I love to tell this story just because, everyone's prep is different. Everyone's bodies react different. So that's one thing we have to realize. But my experience, so I started, man, I was around like 155 pounds, I think. So I had put on some good weight from college, but I floated around like 162, probably the heaviest I had been at that time.
Mm,
Um, and I started my cut at 155 and ended up, trimming down, and I didn't have to, take out carbs or anything like that because I was already so lean. So a lot of that prep was great until peak week. Essentially, if people don't, what most people don't know, so peak week is essentially like it's the week that we use as bodybuilders to, peak the body optimally because essentially you get flat during the process of, to be lean and, have like the striations and stuff like that. So you're peaking your body optimally before you get on stage, so that way you can have a combination of like striations, fullness, size, etc. So however you have to do that, that is essentially what that prep or peak week is for. So my peak week, I was working at a job. I was managing a gym at that time, workout anytime. So that was my first year experience with that. What ended up happening was I went to my dad's house. I had a Volkswagen, a 2011 Volkswagen Jetta at the time, and I had been having issues with the spring lock inside of the key with the spring lock. So if you don't know, so once the key gets stuck into the spring lock, it doesn't come out. Like
Oh shoot.
it's jammed. So I went to my dad's house. The key got stuck in the spring lock. So I'm there for like 2 days. I didn't have any of my food with me. This is Wednesday of peak week. So
Peak.
I'm 32 ounces of water like for the whole day, and then so I'm having to walk to the gym, and it's like 100 degrees outside. So you see me walking down the street. I'm eating a can of tuna just to like keep my energy up, and so it's tough. But at that point, I knew I wanted it because it's like I was willing to do whatever it took, and it was like a 2 mile walk to the gym and back. You
Wow.
know, so that first prep was like it was everything for me. But the main lesson being, when if you can do that and life is throwing things at you and whatever challenges you have, you can literally do anything. Being sleep deprived, now, dang near malnourished, even though you're not technically, but it's just the state that the body's in, right? So that was my experience, my first
Uh,
time, but it didn't deter me from continuing to keep going because I knew that was just part of the process.
so there you go. No, I like that because ultimately, like you said, and you got better at it. But the next time you prepped anything, you're like, hey, I already know what to expect, and you grow from it. And that's what I like about like what same thing when we say like with like, hey, grind through those tough challenges, because when you do grind through it, you become better, you grow stronger, either spiritually, mentally, physically, etc. And you learn from yourself, like, hey, I can do this, right? I can do this, and you push yourself. And I think that's a beautiful story, having the, let's say, the discipline and the willpower, in a sense, to like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna make this happen despite how I'm
Yeah.
feeling, because yeah, so many people could have used the excuse, okay, that's too far, or what, I'm not walking, or I don't know,
Right.
whatever. But hey, you've been prepping for so long, you're not gonna about to like make it go out of waste just because of that little hiccup or anything, you know what I mean? So I think
No, for sure.
that's a powerful aspect on your side. That's super, super cool. Now, when respect to let's say your coach, actually, that's something that really stood out to me there on the forum there too, given here we're talking about that fitness aspect. You mentioned, your coach kind of being like a father figure to you. I think that was super cool because I've had different people in the past talking about prepping for their bodybuilding show. They're themselves a coach, etc. And so I always like to ask, like, hey, where do you see what makes a good coach? Like, let's say you prep for a bodybuilding. What makes a good coach? And everyone always gives their different opinions based off of their own, experience. So when you mentioned that father figure, I'm like, wow, it would be, I'm really open to hear that story, that relationship with your coach, to be able to find a coach like that you can consider like a father to you. And so there's something very impactful in that. And just share it with me, that aspect, how you connected with your coach and how that came about.
And the connection we have, I could do nothing but smile and laugh just because like I really think it was God ordained the way that happened. Being very like, God fearing, and even the guy that introduced me to him is a very God fearing man, and it's something I had prayed about, like put me in a position to where I can learn from someone who knows what it takes to either be the best or get me to where I need to go. And that's him, and to this day, I can't tell you like how many things I've learned and I continue to learn from him. Every day is like a new journey, like it's just like when I say father, like, we'll go eat together and, like we'll just go places like this. It's much more than just, hey, like, here's your workout for the day,
Mhm.
like, hey, like I'm willing to spend time with you, whether it's one on one or, because our whole like our whole team, like Team Steel, like we're like everyone's a family. So like we have people who are, you know, powerlifters, bodybuilders, strongmen, and just people who just love to work out, but we're all there for each other. So we'll support each other at shows, whether it's powerlifting, bodybuilding, strongman. Like we'll fly out to like different shows if it's out of state. Just really showed me what it was for, you know, showed me what community was really all about. Just like a different idea of what family actually is. Because growing up, my family, like they weren't like the worst. I'm not gonna sit here and be like they were terrible. No, but like there were moments where like with moving all the time, like it created it to distances, you know, between like some of my siblings and you know some like my mom and things like that. And so it was it was tough for a moment. I found myself kind of like separating myself and isolating, and wanting to kind of do my own thing. And then it turned out to be a good thing because at that time that was when I was doing my own powerlifting thing, and then that's when coach came along and he was like, "I'm gonna be by your side no matter what." You know, just the sacrifices he's made for me. I mean, it's just like no other. So I can't be any more grateful for him, to be honest, and the team, everyone around me for sure. Because there's moments where I didn't feel like I wanted to do this anymore, but they were there to help pick me up and continue to push me in that direction.
If was looking for a coach, then let's say, what would you say to them? Like, hey, try to look into these things that I would say could really help you have a good, let's say, connection with your coach. You know, any specific pointers that stood out to you with your current coach that if someone else was looking for a coach to train, gym, bodybuilding, etc., what would be some like suggestions like, hey, make sure you look into this or that you would say really stands out?
Like certain attributes that a coach has.
Mm-hmm.
My personal opinion, you want a coach that's just loyal to the game, not your pocketbook. All right. Because a lot of coaches, and that's just not like no shame on the game or anything like that. It's just what I've seen, you know, being in the industry for this long, which really isn't a long time, but there's a lot of coaches that really just want your pocketbook and they're willing to do whatever it takes as long as you're paying them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you want a coach that's just in it for the love of the sport. You will learn so much more that way, I promise. That's usually what I tell people for the most part. That, and then he's taught me just loyalty, like what it means to be loyal to your coach, and then what it means for your coach to be loyal to you, like genuinely. You
I
know,
like
so
that. That's fair because I remember in another gym I used to go to sometimes some of the personal trainers there I would observe because I would train with one of the workers there that she helped model for me for some of the clothes for the brand for some of the women's merch. So I would just like whenever she was around, I would be like, hey, you want to grab a workout? Let's record some content. And she's like, yeah, cool. And she was a trainer at that gym. And so then sometimes the times we would be working out together, you know, some of the other trainers were around and you could at least from what my perspective, mind you, I'm like third person looking in, but sometimes I would feel like they wouldn't give as much thought to the client. Like maybe they were kind of there, hey, do this. And then I would see the trainer go like somewhere else and like I don't know where they went. I'm like, wait, what's happening here? Like, are you supposed to be training them? And I'm like, hey, to each their own, but and that's something very similar that I've had a lot of guests in the past say the same when it comes to like
yeah,
seeing a coach like, hey, make sure one, they actually represent what they're doing. You know, if
right,
imagine they have a belly or this and that, then like, hey, is that really a coach? They're not really practicing what they teach. At the same time, it's like, are they paying attention to you? Or are they just on their phones so many different things. So the fact that you said like, hey, loyal to the game, I think that's very related to what other people have been saying to really like, exactly like they're in it to truly help you versus like just to, you know, make a quick buck and, you know, they're not really pushing you to become better or try to be better or whatever your specific fitness goals may be, you know?
exactly. Well said, man.
Now, let me ask you this. I always like asking this too, which got me thinking. Let's say I know you mentioned a little bit in the form, you know, wanting to get into some of this like the mindset aspect of this. You know, back during let's say college, you know, there's certain like let's say dark periods in your time that you face certain like, you know, thoughts, actions, etc. During that process, what would you say was a good, let's say, where was that turning point that like that spark that changed you? Like, hey, you know, I don't want to be feeling this way, like these depression, these negative thoughts, etc. Like, where was that shift? Was it when you got into like the fitness? Was it some encounter with God? I'm just curious on that because from where I want to lead moving forward into the podcast, I want to connect it, but it makes sense when people know a little bit of that background from where you came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. So that switch, that moment for me when things started to get better. So my parents are divorced. They're divorced right now. And whenever I got to college with that in mind, like, because my mom called me, I was taking classes to get into college.
Oh,
I wasn't accepted, so I was going to college just because, like, I felt like I had to. So like I get that call, my mom's like, "Hey, me and your dad divorcing," and it's just like, dang, okay. But as a kid, they've been together for like 19 years, so you don't really.
wow.
It's just kind of like, all right, like I don't, I don't believe that. I know y'all gonna work
Mm,
it out, so I put it in the back of my mind. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going, keep finishing, whatever. So I finish. I end up, getting accepted from passing those classes. Everything's cool. Couple years moving forward, she calls me again. She's like, "Hey, the divorce is finalized," and I'm like, "Oh, so this was for real." Like as a kid, there was so much going on within like pledge and fraternities and things like that. Like like I was super busy and out of contact because going to college, that was my escape from all the stuff I had been like dealing with at home, things like that. So when she called me a couple years later, it was like, man, so like I'm really gonna have to accept this, right? And that was a hard thing for me to do because for anybody who's been through it, like I had blamed myself for a lot of period of time, and simply just because of the fact of like, not to get like super deep into it, but like, my parents would have had me out of wedlock if they wouldn't have gotten married, type of thing,
mm,
and that was a lot on my mental that I hadn't really had the willpower to process emotionally. So there was a lot of upkept feelings that caused me to go into those deep ruts and deep depression that only God could take me out of. And I think those things happen for that reason. And so as I would open my Bible and I would go to church, but there were still some things that were holding me hostage, like pornography, addiction to lust. And I was in and out of, smoking marijuana, and I really had a really bad alcohol addiction, like just from drinking the pain away. So all these things the devil tried to like keep me bound with, right? Because he's
right.
like, hey, like I want you here, but God's like, I have a plan for you. Like this is where I
Right.
want you to go, but I need you to see it and like really put your life in my hands. And even that little nugget, that little faith of a mustard seed, right? It took me a long way, but it also took me a long time to realize like that's what God was doing. Like obviously he knows your plans before you even know where you're going to go in life, right? And so that shift for me was crucial. When I like truly figured out like what it meant to surrender my life to the Lord and follow his way and do like his will for me so that it could be done like here on this earth, that was when every like the floodgates literally like had opened up. And that's essentially all he wants for us to do, like just to put our complete trust in him, like our hearts in him so that he can lead you on that path straight. Like Proverbs 3:5-6 says, do not lean on your own understanding, for he will make your path straight. Right. And so I think that that verse, gets misconstrued, but it's just like, that's what I lived by. My dad always said one proverb a day, I mean, wasn't really a saying about it, but one proverb a day will keep you on the right path. And that there's something for you to always live by within that book of wisdom.
Mhm.
So I would say just God really, he took me out of a rut I didn't think I was going to make it out of, through suicidal thoughts and all of that. Like when I wanted to end my life, God was on the opposite side of my ear. He was like, son, I need you, not just for you, but like for things that you don't even think that I need you for, and now I'm like doing his will, helping people out, saying words of wisdom, like realizing the gifts that he has within the kingdom and not just within bodybuilding. That's just the platform. Realizing that's just, hey, like that's where he placed me. Now I can do my work within there and motivate and inspire the people around me through that platform that he has me on. And so that's where we are now, man. I just even here talking to you, man, like everything, I'm just grateful for every conversation. I cherish every little relationship that I build genuinely because it all means the most, and everything I think is God given.
Amen. No, man, I love when you mentioned that verse, and that's literally my favorite Bible verse, Proverbs 3:5-7, actually. Yeah, like, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. That's actually a fundamental principle of where I came up with the phrase, the lifestyle, the God Gym Grind lifestyle, is like God first. And the God first being from that Proverbs that I read. Like, I was personally born in a Christian household, so like the school I went to, it was a private school, but they would make us memorize Bible verses like from kindergarten through like basically 12th grade until you're like and you have to like memorize a ton of Bible verses. And of course you memorize them just for the sake of the exam sometimes, just because you got to get done. But let's be real, like anything that you memorize, eventually if you don't continuously, you end up forgetting it.
Yeah.
So I'll be totally transparent, there was a lot of verses I ended up forgetting. But I remember one time I was like reading the Bible, and I was reading Proverbs. Proverbs is actually one of my favorite books too, just because of
Oh
all that
yeah.
wisdom and everything
Yeah.
that it has is so good. And so I remember reading that. I'm like, wow, that really, like, that verse that like you read it that one time, you just basically never forget it. That's that verse for me. Like, to this day, like, I memorized so many verses, which a lot of them I don't remember anymore. I could maybe paraphrase it or summarize what a verse says, but not like word for word. But that one was it. And the way I boiled it down to like, hey, yeah, trust in the Lord and lean on him. Don't lean on your own understanding, because let's say in this era, in this world of, let's say business or entrepreneurship or fitness, it's very easy to just, as you're going with it, just making your own decisions. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, let's do this, let's do that, let's launch this merch, let's do this content, let's post this. But then it's like, hey, let me take a step back. I'm like, hey, hey God, do you actually want me to do this? Or am I just like, and it's being humble enough to like take a step back and like, hey, wait, before I make a decision, hey God, do you actually want me to do the decision? Or let me wait on you to guide me. And easier said than done, but
For
yeah,
sure.
putting that God first aspect is something that, again, I'm not perfect. There are times I don't put God first, even to this day,
Yeah.
even with, and like, the brand itself is like a reminder to myself to continuously live that, kind of like maintain myself accountable as well. Where there are times where I just end up doing something. I'm like, man, wait, God, did you actually want me to do that? And, sometimes it doesn't work out, or sometimes it does. But then it's like, hey, no, wait, God, do you actually want me to do this? Is this in your will? Or, and it keeps you a little bit more aware of, I would say, by putting God first and like trusting in him, it's a form of being humble, knowing that, hey, without his guidance, yeah, we could still achieve things, but we wouldn't be able to achieve as much as we could, or as much as he created us for, if we were to be humble enough to actually acknowledge him and
Exactly.
ultimately let him guide us, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, like, things happen in life for different reasons that at that point maybe it doesn't make sense, but then it leads us to where we are now. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, you could say that, hey, you've been through some really tough things, but now overcoming them, if someone else comes down the line, like, hey, you know what? I'm also struggling with, let's say, addiction or like drinking or this, like, hey, you know what? Like, you can overcome this, right? A lot of people think they're like tied to it and they're stuck. They won't be able to get out of it. But no, man, like, see God, find people to also help you, some like a community support, like you were saying there, like with fitness, that community support,
Yeah.
of course, also seek God, because he's the only one that could really get you out of that rut in a sense. And then stick to it, be disciplined, like we were saying, have the willpower to not quit and go through that pain, that uncomfortableness in a sense, but you'll come out ahead on top. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and kind of speaking on that, talking about willpower, it's like I forgot exactly what verse it was. I think it's in Isaiah, but it talks about, allowing his strength to be used during your weakness, right?
Mhm.
And and that's a verse that I really stuck to when I was going through hard times. It's like, okay, like knowing that, hey, like, you're strong because you have God on your side, right? Like, and then that just makes me cling to him even more, because it's like, okay, like it's not just me going through this, like it's me and God. So like how can I continue to walk through this with him,
Yep.
and use him as a guiding point to be able to go through these tough times. Yeah, you gotta praise him in the lows and the highs, man.
Exactly. No, yeah. And I was actually quickly searching up that verse. I maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Isaiah 40:29, where it's like he gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
NIV
what it
version.
is,
Yeah. That's a good verse right there. That's a gym bro verse right there.
bro.
I
Telling you,
love
man.
that. That's
Look,
a good.
that's exactly it.
You can see that in a gym. Like you walk by, it's like he gives strength to the weary. Hey, you feeling tired? Hey, keep going. Push the
Keep
failure.
grinding. Call on
Yeah.
him and keep it going.
So yeah, let me also ask you also as well when it comes to, let's say, through like social media. I know something I always like to ask. I've seen you posted some things on social media like with respect to your fitness journey. Is this something that you see yourself in the future moving forward, as let's say you're going for your pro card later this year that you want to go for? Do you see like social media, like let's say your personal brand or however you want to call it, like maybe becoming more like being more active on that, posting more, building a community online, or maybe it's just more for, hey, just social media is just more like a little recreational thing. It's not like a really main focus of mine. Just kind of curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, me and social media, that relationship has gotten a lot better because you have to think like when I was in college, which was like 20, I went in 2014. So like Instagram had barely started jumping off at that point. So like you could post, nobody judging you. It's just like whatever. It's just like a highlight reel. You're just posting random stuff, enjoying your college career. So like to see that point and now, like I had to treat it completely different. Now it's more of a tool of success for me to either be successful in some way. I wouldn't say that's like the highest point of success. It has its means. Like there's good and bad sides of social media, but you have to learn how to navigate it in a way that works best for you. So for me, I personally, I don't know about anybody else, but I get anxiety. Like when I post, it's just like I have to pray, like God, like I pray that this like reaches somebody in a good way, that, nobody's like lusting after me or anything like that, because
Yeah.
I don't want to get too deep into it, but also knowing like this is kind of what comes with the sport. So like I'm gonna have to put myself out there, but I also know there's a time and a place of when I can do that in a more professional manner. So that's how I'm treating it right now, but also, just letting God lead the way with that. So he usually kind of lets me know like, okay, this is something you can post. This is not accept.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, because I know it could be definitely daunting. I mean, for myself, I post a lot on social media. I've been cutting back because I've been like working on some things and working on some like new content ideas that I want to start posting. But yeah, like it could be a whole, let's say, dark hole with the deeper you get into it and all these platforms and everything. And I know that's something that even I would struggle with 100% before, where it's like a little nervous to post is like, what if? And then for me, I like listening to some of these entrepreneurs like Alex Hermosi or Gary Vee a lot that I just like their content. And like when it comes to like that entrepreneurship. And one thing I like about Gary Vee a lot is that one thing that's often that he talks about like, hey, who cares what other people think? Like, what matters, of course, he's not Christian. He doesn't say this part, but it's like after like, hey, who cares what people think? Are you not gonna post because some stranger on social that you'll never meet in life is like, oh, you look funny? And then because of that, you're never gonna post and hold back on your dreams or whatever. So when I heard it from that perspective, I'm like, oh snap, that's like I had never thought about it like that. But when you view it from that perspective, it really does like, well, who the heck cares? Like you said, as long as it's something that I know like doesn't go against like biblical principles, is aligned with what God wants me to post, and it goes well with the messaging, then hey, I'm gonna post it, and whatever happens, happens. At the end of the day, people are always gonna hate regardless. Like there's this saying my family says a lot that you're never gonna be able to please everyone, right? Because
Right.
everyone, like, like the perfect example is like you go to a birthday party or something, everyone, if you ask everyone after the party, everyone will always have some type of critique or negative feedback or
Yeah.
something. Like, oh, the food wasn't as good, or they should have had this instead of that, or I don't know, it's a little
Yeah.
too hot, they always complain about something. So you're never going to please anyone. So it's like, all that matters is like pleasing, like doing what God wants you to do. You're
Right.
knowing you're walking in his path, and whatever else happens is like, hey, who cares? Again, easier said than done. But when
Yeah.
you constantly say that to yourself, it becomes a little bit easier the next time you face that. You just keep saying it to yourself. The next time it becomes even easier, where eventually it comes to the point where it doesn't really phase you what other people say or not say. And you're like, hey, you know what? Just focus on God.
Exactly. I mean, if you're posting for him, I mean, it shouldn't really matter what other people think anyways, because you're not posting for them technically. Like if it reaches them, then great, but you're posting for him out of obedience,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
for sure.
Now, as we're closing up a little bit on but there's a few more questions that I really want to get from your story, which I know could really be really inspiring for others. Let's say someone that's listening to this right now, maybe they're also themselves, let's say, battling addiction, depression, lost in a sense of purpose. What would you say to them directly?
You're not alone, and that I know the pain that you're going through, but the only person that can get you out is Jesus. Like he loves you, he cares about you. He sends people through him to you that are being obedient vessels to help you. So just be weary that every person you talk to can be a point of help in some way. And that he's always there. He never leaves you nor forsakes you. He's the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow. So just hold on. It's gonna be all right.
Beautifully well said. Would you say there's any specific habits or disciplines that have helped you as well through your transformation that are really important to you, be it spiritually or mentally or physically, that you developed as well?
Man, you said habits of discipline?
Or like any like habits or like
Oh,
things
okay.
that you do that you're like, hey, you know what? Over the course of me overcoming these dark things to where I'm at now, I really have developed these specific habits that I feel like if I hadn't developed them, it wouldn't have helped me get out to where I'm from. Being like, hey, let's say praying daily, reading the Bible, or like fitness or certain diets, just curious on that because I know people can also relate to that. Like, oh, specific things. Again, everyone's different. What works for you isn't going to work for someone else. But there's certain things that are still key that anyone could apply that can help them just develop better habits to go towards a new, let's say, chapter in their life if they're going through a dark period.
For sure. One thing about me that I've learned in my experience is having a schedule really helped me out in a way I didn't even realize because I'm like the way my brain works. When I see something that's like scheduled for that day, it makes me more apt to be either like on time to it or want to do it or create the discipline behind it. So the more that you can put something in front of you, whether it's a calendar, a schedule, or something, that gives you something to look forward to, right? So whether you're going through the rut or you feel like you don't have anything to look forward to, just even throughout, like when I didn't have like a bunch of meetings or anything like that, like something I would do is, okay, I would find something within like a quadrant. It's what I call it. So like spiritually, mentally, physically, and then financially. So like out of this quadrant, like what kind of goal can I create that will allow me to like work towards it in my everyday life. So mentally, like, okay, like I may read a book or listen to an audio book or for 5 to 10 minutes a day, read something. Physically, go work out, go for a run. Just focus on like scheduling these things out. So it's like, okay, I have a full day ahead of me. And then so before you know it, you'll build a sense of consistency and discipline that you've never seen before. So then after a while, you won't have to even schedule it because it's already ingrained in your brain. That's what I personally did. And obviously, like, talking to God helps a lot as well. And like, he'll give you other things to like go towards and guide you towards that'll help out in your life as well on that spiritual aspect. But, even financially, he can help you in all those quadrants. But that's my number one thing. Find something that'll allow you to be consistent, disciplined, and just be more beneficial for you.
It's so cool that you said that. It's funny because I have like a two screen setup, and literally on my on my left monitor, I always have like my calendar and like my to do list, right? Because then I'm like, oh wait, I gotta do this. Okay,
Yeah.
let me do that. Or like, you know what? I don't have anything on my calendar. What can I do? It's like, oh, let me go watch Netflix. Like, well, let me actually see what's on my reminders or like to do list. Like, oh look, I put this that I wanted, because I use my reminders on my phone, like my iPhone reminders, just like a bunch of ideas. Like, oh, I have this idea, put it on my reminders. And when I have some free time or when I'm like, I'll look at it and see what I can knock out of those different reminders. And so then that's what I'll sometimes do. Like, okay, calendar's empty. Whatever. Oh, like, yes, right. I had this idea. Let me go do that right now. And then, like kind of like keep yourself that productive aspect versus kind of like,
Yeah.
well, let me just chill. And
Yeah.
then,
And
nothing wrong with chilling, of
there's
course,
nothing
but,
wrong with chilling. Like sometimes it's
yeah,
great to sit in the Lord's presence, and just do
yeah, yeah,
nothing, and actually have a
100%.
Sabbath. But it's just yeah, but I definitely agree. However you can be productive in a time of need for sure.
Exactly. Now, let me ask you these quick little, quick, let's say what I like to call quick fire rounds, and then, we'll wrap it up for today. But for me, it's like any favorite post-workout meal?
Mm, man, I'm a big pasta junkie. I love
Okay.
pasta, noodles in general.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm part Japanese, so I think that just kind of
Oh,
comes with the
okay.
culture.
That's so cool.
But yeah, anything pasta related, I'm all for it.
Have you ever been to Japan or over there or visited or
I
no?
haven't. So my grandmother is really big on like genealogy. So we're seeing if
Uh,
there's any like other family members or anything like that. That way it can be like a 2 for 1, you know. So like
nice.
go visit or at least try to meet them, even though they probably don't know who the heck I am. But
You're like, hey, I'm your
right?
family.
They're gonna be like, what?
That's
So
so funny.
yeah, maybe reach out to them first. But yeah, but for
I think
sure,
that's a good idea.
yeah, I might do that.
That's too funny. Any specific, let's say, song that like always hits for you? Maybe when at the gym or working out or training.
Lately, I've been listening to a lot of worship music while I train.
Nice.
That are audiobooks, but a song for me that's been like holding me is "Show Me Your Face" by I think it's Red Worship and Lizzie Morgan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's like a compilation. So like "Show Me Your Face" or slash Yahweh. Man,
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
it's
Send that
yeah.
one to me. I'm gonna check it
I
out. I'm
got you.
actually
Yeah,
right after this. I'm gonna go into the gym right now. I'm gonna do some cardio and some legs. So any music will help.
dude,
It's
I
leg
got you
day, so
there for
That's
sure.
super awesome. And then last but not least, what would you say would be your favorite Bible verse right now for you, if any?
That's tough because I'm going through a lot of Bible verses.
Oh snap.
So right now, I mean, just from recollection, so like my grandfather, you saw, had just like passed away on the 4th. So I'll say Psalms 23. That was his favorite verse, and it started to become mine, not just because of him, but after like just really reading it and seeing like really like drew him to that. Like it became very memorable. So I'll say Psalms 23 right now.
Beautiful. And that's a beautiful verse. It's really that for the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I know that's like the one people, but when you really go through that whole verse, it's like,
Whole
hey,
context, it's like,
the whole it's a powerful. It's really
dude,
powerful.
yeah,
You're like, you lead me through the valleys of dark water. You're there with
that right
me.
there.
And
Yo,
like it's really powerful. Yeah, no.
facts.
Now, D'Angelo, as the final question here, as we wrap up for today's podcast, and I've been loving having you on the guest. You were awesome. What's like, let's say, what's next for you? Like, outside of chasing, let's say, your pro card, like, what are you, let's say, planning or dreaming or working towards ahead as well in life? Where is the D'Angelo moving forward?
And so, God's hands getting a promotion at the job
Let's go.
within like the next, couple months. I would say also me and another brother in Christ are working on a platform or community to help those in need that are addicted to porn or
Oh,
pornography.
it's awesome.
So I mean, it'll be
There you go.
tailored towards men, but we'll get that up and rolling for sure. At some point, whenever God feels like it's ready to release that. In due time, it's in the works, but I'm super excited about that and to help the community because we need it.
Definitely. No, for sure. For sure. I think that's something that's really on threads. I use threads a lot, and so like threads will like show you random conversations like
Yeah.
based off of like what you're engaging with, but then it just shows you random posts. So I remember I was engaging with certain like Christian comments, and then there was this one guy who commented like about battling with pornography, and then you could see a whole plethora of comments of people like all going through the same. So it's
Yeah.
crazy how it's like something like, I don't know the percentages. I'm pretty sure it's crazy high, but it's something that at the same time maybe people don't talk about as openly, or maybe a little embarrassed, at
Yeah.
least in person. But then when it comes to like social media, it seems as if people are more willing to talk about it because it's maybe not face to face. At least that's from what I've seen. So I think that's something super beautiful God put in your heart. And I
Absolutely.
know that's something that will definitely help a lot of men out there to, just gain their gain their control back in, if you know what I mean, and so forth. So I
Absolutely,
think
man.
that's powerful, and I love it, man. Now, again, D'Angelo, it's amazing having you. I really appreciate you. If the audience wanted to follow you on social media, I know you said it's not like your main thing, but you're getting there.
Oh
But if
yeah,
they
now
did
you can
want to
still
follow
follow.
you, what platforms are you on? And then, any platforms that you're on so they could give you a follow, support you.
So the main one I use is Instagram. I use Facebook, but I mean it's just my name. So D'Angelo Brackeen on Facebook. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Swole for the Soul. Because we're lifting more than just weights. Muscle meets ministry, and
Love it.
that's the main ones. I don't use TikTok or anything like that, so at least not yet, but I try not to. But you can follow
There
me on
you
those
go.
too.
Beautiful. And I'll make sure, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the description below. If you're hearing this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it should also be in the description below. So check that out and give them a follow. And again, D'Angelo, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Appreciate for sharing your story. And I know, God willing, maybe in the future, we do a part 2 after with your
Hey,
pro card or starting that let's say foundation that you have or something, and then bring more awareness to that as well. So I
yeah.
appreciate you for being on. As we like to say here at G3X Fitness, God Gym Grind. Remember, live that God Gym Grind lifestyle. God first, hit the gym, and grind through life's challenges. Until the next episode, everyone. Peace out.